You call me a saint, but you know I'm a stranger, all willing and able to do what you want.
Deadly Tarantula Girl coming to you from my private serpentarium. Today I'm going to bring you an epic video. I just received one of my birthday presents, I guess? Yes, this was one of my birthday presents. It's a little belated, but sometimes the best things are worth waiting for. Of course, it's an animal. And this is a species that I have been waiting for at least 10 years. I've seen them here and there, and it just didn't happen. So I was wary of this species because they've been known to be very fickle and temperamental. But now that they are actually being reproduced in captivity, things are getting better. So this is a captive bred and born hatched species. Let's take a look. My baby Tribulus gracilis, also known as the red-eyed crocodile skink or a bush skink. Now this little one is several months old already, and he or she is quite tiny, yet super duper adorable. They don't love being handled. I'm not gonna play with it too much. This is a very interesting species, and I'll talk about it a little bit as I set up. Now this is only in temporary habitat. I have a plant, a hide, another hide, a water dish, some eco earth, some sphagnum moss, and I have some other things that I've had to order. For example, hydroponic balls and things like this, as well as some isopods. So ideally, this is set up kind of like a poison dart frog tank, where you have a layer of hydroponic balls, and then you have like some mesh, and then some gravel, and then some mesh, and then some type of soil-like substrate, and then you have moss on the top. In a perfect world, you'd have like a running water source, like a waterfall or something like that. Otherwise, you need a fogger or a mister, or you need to mist it manually, which, you know, people get busy, animals get put on the back burner sometimes. So I would highly recommend if you have an automated mister. They do like lights, although they do not need full spectrum light or heat. Live plants are better because they help boost humidity. So I have my helper right now putting the cocoa and the moss in some water. These bricks of eco earth are fairly condensed, so they need to soak for a little while, and then it breaks apart, and it's just kind of like a very fine soil is sort of the texture of it. So ideally an adult would go in like a 20 long or something like that. This one is still very little. So this I'm just setting up kind of in the meantime until my other materials get here. He or she has a nice little place to hide out and live and not dry out and eat. And so this animal's name is Night Fury because that is what the transporter named him or her. I'm just gonna say him, it's easier. Oops, sorry whoever I just kicked under the table. Oh, that's heavy. I have my cocoa fiber here. And obviously it has been soaking in water. And so a little bit about this species. They are from an area in the world where some of my other favorite animals hail, like the Papua New Guinea area, sugar gliders. And so, like I said, this final build will have different layers, so there's drainage and just a better system. But this baby needs a place to live. This was a surprise, which is why I wasn't prepared to house it, but a really good surprise. This is a smaller species of lizard, relatively slow growing, slow to reproduce. They are not sexually dimorphic until they reach near to sexual maturity. And as you might have assumed from the name, They have red eyes, not the pupil, but they get a really beautiful red ring around their eyes once they grow up. Although they do resemble a crocodilian because of the scalation on their back, they look a lot like the little dragon from How to Train Your Dragon, whose name is Toothless, but that species in the movie was of dragon, which was a fearsome dragon. That was called a Night Fury. Cute little story about where his name came from. I definitely want to thank my employees that went and picked up this animal from Alvarado, Texas, and hand delivered him to me. I want to thank my producer who surprised me with this. I just can't believe it. I want to thank the breeder, Earl and Ren Jones from Lonestar Reptiles. You guys amaze me every day. Just when I think you guys couldn't get any cooler, you get cooler. So yeah, wow, this totally blew my mind, totally took me by surprise. I didn't think this baby was going anywhere ever. I thought they were going to keep this baby for themselves. Then I got this fantastic surprise. So here's a sad confession. I kill plants. I love them, but I'm not a horticulturist. I love plants, but they don't love me. I'm really in a quandary about whether or not I'm actually going to attempt live plants in this. I've only ever been successful with live plants really in one experience ever, and that was in a poison dart frog setup, I guess you could say. And it had all automated misters, and it was already planted and mature when I got it. So basically all the hard work was done by the time I got it. So these animals are crepuscular. They are incredibly shy. They don't like to be handled. They hide out for the most part. And so this is not an animal that, it's not like a leopard gecko or a bearded dragon that's ever going to be super duper looking for attention, or they're not the best companion animal. They're more of a display animal, and they're so beautiful and so amazing that in my opinion it's worth having them just in the off chance that you see them occasionally. They're that awesome. They are insectivores. It's best to feed them a variety of foods. It's best to gut load and to even feed your insects calcium. So you're not trying to... This is a little deep for this tiny little guy, so just want to make sure that it's not deep enough for him to drown. So adding some gravel to the bottom in case he takes a little tumble in there to make sure he can climb right back out. That's not what I was trying to do, but that's okay. The gravel being in the substrate is not going to hurt anything. Can you refill this? And so you can see this is going to maintain good humidity. If you do have a screen top, I highly recommend that you cover probably 75% of that top of your lid, just to make sure that your little guy doesn't dry out. And so yeah, I don't know if this is the most beautiful tank in the world. Like I said, I'm throwing this together with stuff that I have on hand right now because this guy needs to be set up. Oh, moss next. Okay. And you know, the stuff that I was able to go out and purchase locally, which I live in a small town, and so the things that I need are not always available, which is why I love my sponsors who send me things, and I am a massive Amazon shopper. So I will put the Amazon links to where you can get any of this stuff online because, you know, also too, we're still in quarantine, at least here in New Mexico we are. All right, there's a teeny little hiding spot there for him. And then this big log will offer lots of nice coverage, and I'm gonna put some moss inside the log to keep it So I decided to go with a smaller piece of cork for now. And so I'm going to make sure that there's moss underneath the little hide. So he has a nice, cool, cozy place to hide out. And at least until he gets bigger, I'll probably keep him in a 10-gallon. But, you know, as he grows up and gets bigger, he will need something larger. And I also am hoping to pair this animal up, hopefully with an unrelated mate reproduced by Ryan McVeigh. So, Ryan, I will be contacting you. Although, you know, it's very, well, pretty much impossible in my knowledge to know whether or not you have a male or a female until they grow up a little. So maybe I should just get like a dozen of them. What do you guys think? Okay, so here is Night Fury, and he's just the cutest little guy in the world. And so I'm going to put him directly in the water since he's been in shipping, and I want to make sure he knows where the water is. He seems to like that. So if you have a proper red-eyed croc skink enclosure, you're not going to see them a whole lot, which is what they want. They only lay an egg, one single egg, about every 6 weeks or so. And so you never have a whole nest of hatchlings like you do with a lot of species. And I just think they're absolutely incredible. I can see why they got the name of the crocodilian, but they are not very closely related to crocodilians, as they are a skink. And I am over the moon for this little guy. He is absolutely incredible. I know that he just looks like a little pipsqueak now, but if you ever saw the adults, and even the adults they're just small and beautiful, and they're so secretive, and they've been so difficult to keep in the hobby in the past, because the wild caught animals, they're stressed, they're nervous, they have parasites and different infections, and they just haven't done well. And so I'm just so excited to have a captive bred and reproduced animal. Number one, I think that should always be our goal with these beautiful exotic species, long term, even if it's not a short term goal. And I'm just so honored. These are just too amazing. So that was my setup for Mr. Little Night Fury. Definitely be watching for follow-up videos in the future, because this guy is too cool. Basic care for these guys, one of the most important thing is pretty high humidity, like in the mid 80s%. And of course, so you would need a gauge to measure that humidity. Definitely that they have nice places to hide, that they have adequate food. They don't necessarily need to be kept as warm as you might think. They're most comfortable in like relative room temperatures, like 70s. So you don't need a heat source on them if they're inside your home, unless you keep it really chilly. They do not need full spectrum light, although in an ideal enclosure you have live plants, which would need full spectrum lighting. Basically, humidity, privacy, they need lots of areas to hide. Adequate food are probably some of the most important factors in keeping this species. Now, if you have a wild caught animal, sometimes they will up and die on you for reasons that you may never determine. They don't have the longest lifespan, so if you get an adult that's wild caught, it might already be an animal that's pretty old. And so this is a slow growing yet shorter lived species, one that is highly rewarding. Alright, so here is the final build. Here's the little guy, And so he has cocoa fiber, moss, he has a couple little hides, he has some water that's not too deep. Now that we've moved around, I need to put some more water because, I mean, you definitely don't want it so deep that he could drown, or you don't want drowned crickets in there either. He looks okay in here right now. He's just kind of checking it out and exploring. I want to thank several people over again. Emmy, TJ, Earl, JD, everybody that snuck around and made this happen. I love you guys. I'm so excited, and we'll see you guys soon. Comment below what you think I should name his mate, and I'll see you guys next time.
You think I'm a thinker, but I'm just a singer. All busy and pretty, just making believe. Boy, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling. Down to obscurity, don't let me ever be this alone. I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling. Shouldn't be trusting me, I could be making it all up, you know.